Hey everybody, Bill Sack here, your favorite attorney with the Firearms Policy Coalition legal team. Last week, FPC celebrated a big win as we finalized a groundbreaking judgment with the City of Philadelphia and the Philadelphia Police over their handling of applications for licenses to carry firearms. For over 4 months last year, the Philly PD office, which accepts and processes permit applications, they call it the Gun Permit Unit, or GPU, was completely closed, allegedly as necessary by COVID-19 safety protocol. As a Class 1 city under Pennsylvania law, it's necessary to have a carry permit to lawfully carry a firearm within the city of Philadelphia. And while open carry is generally lawful in the rest of Pennsylvania, an exception to that provision applies when the Commonwealth is under a state of emergency, which Pennsylvania has been consistently all the way back to 2018, first on the basis of the opioid epidemic, and then COVID. The GPU, as a matter of policy, only accepted applications for carry permits in person. So, as a result of the closure, and Philadelphia residents completely foreclosed from acquiring the requisite permit, not only couldn't they carry within the city limits, but they were barred from carrying in public for self-defense throughout the entire state. When the GPU reopened in the middle of 2020, they did so under an in-person appointment-only system that quickly generated a backlog of thousands of applicants and created wait times of a year or longer just to submit your application. Even pre-COVID, the GPU's chronic understaffing and burdensome policies made it a massive pain in the ass to apply for a permit in Philadelphia. Applications had to be submitted in person, applicants had to submit document and references not required under the governing state statute, and additional investigations like fingerprinting and interviews were conducted for each applicant. The GPU's phones were rarely staffed and even more rarely answered. Want to know when your application is processed? Come on down and wait in line again. We'll only tell you in person, and you have to guess when your application is ready. Not ready yet? Well, you're free to come back tomorrow and ask again. Oh, and we're only open business hours, so be prepared to take time off work again and again. In November of last year, when the GPU closed down entirely once more, the FPC legal team sprang into action. Working straight through the weekend, we were able to bless the City of Philadelphia, the Philadelphia PD, and the Pennsylvania State Police with a federal lawsuit within days. We are thrilled that this FPC lawsuit resulted in changes to the way the GPU operates and will operate in the future. Amongst the terms of the judgment finalized last week, the GPU is now accepting and must continue to accept applications online and by regular mail. No more going down to wait in line just to apply. And no more COVID closures cutting off access to constitutionally protected services. On top of that, additional investigations and fingerprinting will no longer be the norm. Thanks to our lawsuit, the GPU now needs to articulate a good faith basis as to why an applicant needs to submit to such. This should greatly reduce the burdensome and largely unnecessary practice. The GPU will now contact applicants directly to let them know when their applications are processed and their permits are ready to be picked up. And if wait times to pick up approved permits get too long, the GPU is now required by the judgment to extend their operating hours until the backlog is dealt with. Lastly, the City of Philadelphia will be writing FPC a nice $30,000 check to cover some of the legal fees and costs. Permit applications in Philadelphia are now being accepted online and processed in mere days, in stark contrast to the months-long closure and delays of 2020, and the onerous practices employed by the GPU for the decades prior. You can read the entire judgment in its entirety, and find out about all of the other cases your FPC legal team is involved in, over at fpclegal.org. I'm Bill Sack, your favorite attorney with the Firearms Policy Coalition legal team.